exactly. My pleasure. It all rolls downhill.
It's a-
Christmas sweater, like, for a selectman meeting, that would be fun.
I'd have to buy one.
I bought one years ago.
Did you?
Best thing I ever bought, because you can recycle it every year.
And it gets just as ugly.
It does. A couple of the ornaments have fallen off, now it's even worse.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me that you had that.
Good evening. Today is Monday, December 16th, 2024. Before I call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order, I'd like to pass along the condolences and thoughts of the town of Winchester to Madison, Wisconsin. With that,
Linda Guapo.
Paul Marino.
Paul Harrington.
Todd Orsolacci,
Claude Albanesius.
William Hester.
Andy Perez.
William Pozo.
please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, agenda review. Anyone have anything to add or change? Moving on to item number 4, approval of the minutes of our regular meeting on December 2nd.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Any discussion, corrections, additions? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous? Moving on to item number 5, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers be limited to 3 minutes and may speak once. Please give your name and address. Is the mic on?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Annie Samard. I live at 404 East Wakefield Boulevard in Winsted. And I am here to present a petition that we put together when we were organizing the work that we want to do around traffic. We went around and spoke to the different business owners, actually as many as we possibly could on the subject. And we had them sign this petition. We, the owners of Winsted businesses on Main Street in Winsted, do hereby petition the Winchester Board of Selectmen to actively, diligently, and purposefully rectify and resolve the parking issues and the dangerous speeding issues on Main Street, Winsted. The Board of Selectmen should utilize all available and reasonable resources of the town of Winchester, included but not limited to law enforcement, municipal ordinances, legislation, and petitioning of the state of Connecticut legislature and relevant agencies and departments to rectify this situation. Such action has been overdue for several years and has had significant impact on the success of existing business on Main Street and future development of businesses in Winsted, as well as the safety of the citizens and visitors of the town. All to the loss of the economic success and development of the town of Winchester, city of Winsted, and the resultant loss to the citizens and visitors of Winchester in having a safe and enjoyable town center. The Winchester Board of Selectmen, the town manager, and the Winchester Police Department have all been negligent in addressing these serious issues for far too many years, and action is needed now. So, when we were organizing around the the WOW group, organizing around the issue. In our group, we said that our number one issue was to try to do something with traffic and parking, speeding and parking. And we really wanted to go out and speak to the different business owners and citizens around whether they would support our efforts in this. And this paper is something that Cheryl put together, and we all went around and had it signed. Do I present this to you, or do I keep this? The signatures.
So later tonight, we have an agenda item where you and I plan on
Right.
addressing the board. If you want, I would say we could bring everything up under that agenda item.
Okay.
With the petition.
But this should still be accepted into the record.
And we can accept it into the record right now under public input.
Yeah, I think she
One way or
was,
the other, but it's a petition that doesn't really quite meet. In our charter, there is a section for petition for action and requiring action, but that doesn't meet that. So this is like a petition for, to have thoughts be known, et cetera,
Yeah.
but it still should come into the record.
I can take that.
so I give it to you?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Moving on to item number 6, Town Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a interesting last 2 weeks. In no particular order of items that we've addressed over the last 2 weeks. I will let you all know, a week from this Monday, past Monday, we had a surprise OSHA inspection. I'm happy to report that OSHA has completed around all of our building inspection. Right now, they're compiling even more information. Preliminary feedback suggests that the findings are typical for municipal operations. I don't want to read more into that than what was said, but there wasn't anything that happened to be, so glaring. But there is a process that the town will go through with the OSHA inspections. We had our opening conference. They have gone through all of the buildings. They started off at our sewer plant, then to the water plant, then to our public works garage, then eventually over at Town Hall. So they are still gathering information, more files right now. Probably in the new year, they'll come in for a closing conference. We'll be able to sit down, we'll review the report with not only myself, but our public works director and possibly some of our other directors that were, involved in the day-to-day operations of these particular buildings. Other than that, I don't have much news to report, other than as soon as we get notification of the report, I'll make sure each one of you get a copy of it, and we'll rectify, obviously, any situations that they see that we need to address. So OSHA has been here. They're still in the report finding mode, and we'll keep you all posted on what we may or may not have to do once they're completed with their full inspection. Following up, I did attend the CCM conference last week. I finally obtained the CCMO certification, so nice little letters after my name. I do enjoy going to those conferences because not only are you engaging with colleagues throughout the various towns, but also state representatives and state senators and other people that work in the governor's administration. It is a great event. It's an entire day, and I was able to just rekindle a lot of thoughts and ideas with different people that, obviously do the same thing that we do every single day. Transit district update. Again, Selectwoman Perez and I are holding them accountable for the taxpayer resources that we give them every year. There is a agenda item later on in the budget to talk about possibly adding the town manager as a voting member of the transit district. Right now, I'm attending meetings, but actually do not have a vote on budgetary items or any items that may come up for a vote. Selectwoman Perez does get a vote, but right now we only have one bite of the apple, and I think it would make the most sense that we're the second largest town, that we do have 2 voting members on that board, especially when it comes to budgets. Just give you a preview. I know last year the rates went up substantially. Already they're looking for about an $8,000 increase in our budget for next year. We're still working through this, deciding on Are we gonna vote for the budget? Are we not gonna vote for the budget? We're waiting on more justification of the numbers that we preliminarily saw. I'll be following up with them midweek this week to see if they can get us those justifications. And hopefully, if you all approve that, it wouldn't just be Selectwoman Perez voting on it, would also be the town manager as well voting on the budget. Personnel updates, we are going to repost our fire chief's position, try and get some new recruitments in. And unfortunately, we still have a vacant post there in the fire chief's position, so we're gonna go out, repost, and see if we can get any different applicants. We're thinking of posting right after the holiday. Right now, a lot of things seem to not be able to cut through with the holiday being right around the corner, but we are gonna go back out and post for the fire chief's position. And some unfortunate news, our building inspector, Augie, turned in his resignation effective the end of the year, December 31st. He is going on to another town as an assistant building official. Jim Clark has been notified and committed to supporting our transition as we repost. We have reposted internally to the unions, and by the end of this week, we'll go out for a full posting in that position. One of the things that I am going to look to negotiate is that if the town potentially brings on a building inspector that does not have the qualifications as a certification and the town pays for it, we're gonna be looking for a minimum commitment or get paid back for the training that the town has purchased. I think that would only be fair. I don't see why anyone would be against that, but this is now, I believe, the second building inspector we've gone through in a very, very short period of time. They seem to get certified and then they go off to another town. We need to stop that from happening, and I think that's one way of doing it. So, but fortunately, Jim Clark is gonna come in, so we don't miss any permits. Work can continue to continue, and permits can continue to get signed off on. But I wish Augie well in his next endeavor and enjoyed our time that we got to work with each other. Moving on to the COG, we did have a COG meeting. I'm also on the policy board. One of the key focuses this year is municipal funding. It's really to protect against the state mandates that impact our town budgets. Obviously, ECS is a big one as well. And then ongoing discussions regarding regional waste authority formation. I know the COG's hot to trot on trying to form a regional waste authority. No information yet. They were down at Mirror under executive session. They did put in a pitch. I can't speak more on the pitch other than it's constantly moving, but I know sitting with Todd, the mayor, he's looking at every option possibly. I think when it comes time, Todd and I will definitely recuse ourselves back. We will need a member of this board to probably attend COG meetings as they may try and unlock a regional waste authority. I have a conflict because I'm on the board that they're trying to form the regional waste authority with. Todd's conflicted because he works at RRDD1. I don't think I need an answer tonight, but if you are interested in being potentially the Board of Selectmen candidate,
Keep looking this way, so.
I'm looking everywhere.
Well, the COG meetings are during the day.
COG meetings are during the day. They tend to do a lot of them on Zoom. It's what it's boiling down to is, trash prices are continuing to go up and up and up and up. And if Mirror were to stick around, our next year's rate would be $141.
136.
136, then 141, $136 a ton. I know coming from my last town, in a small town, we were able to get rates way underneath that. By opening up a regional waste authority by a COG and having, not all the COG towns, because some of the COG towns are already signed in with private haulers, how does that become cost effective for us? I don't know the answer to that yet, but I would really like an outsider, and by an outsider, somebody on the Board of Selectmen that doesn't have a conflicted interest, Todd being on RRDD1, me being appointed by the governor on MIRA. If you could possibly let me know by the first of the year, I think by the first of the year, you're gonna start seeing a lot of different things coming out and what would be the best solution for Winchester when it comes to the overall trash. It's something that's not gonna go away. It's something that happens no matter what type of economy you're in. People produce refuge, and we need to get rid of it every day. It's not a problem until it doesn't get picked up on a Monday. The first Monday it doesn't get picked up, then it becomes a big problem, so I think we need to start looking way ahead of it before it becomes a problem. So more on that as we continue. Looking at the budget, I've stated this a few times under the town manager's report, we're gonna have some significant challenges this year. I sat with Brown and Brown last Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. Projected healthcare increases is 11.9%. That's obviously not just on the town side, but also the Board of Ed side. That number could vary. That's probably worst-case scenario, but you're probably still potentially looking at a double-digit percentage increase in the health insurance line, not only on the town side, but also on the Board of Ed side. And again, just to reiterate, the revenue reductions, you have the new way we're assessing motor vehicles, which is gonna drop about $200,000. You have the disabled veterans exemption, which is gonna cost us about $50,000. And then, of course, you have rising general cost of living expenses that are, into a lot of these union contracts. So, we're gonna need to roll up our sleeves. We've started to sit down looking at the budget line by line. But again, I just put that out in front of all of you, that there are some cost increases and revenue reductions that are going to make this budget a pretty difficult one to get together, but we have to balance the community needs with the taxpayers' consideration. I think last year, we worked until 2 o'clock in the morning. We may be in for some late nights, so as the picture gets a little clearer, I'll obviously report back to the board. Some other items, I know this came up one time before. There was a part for the solar farm that we get a credit for every single month. I'm happy to report that that part has been installed, and we will be receiving our tax credits beginning, is it this month or it was this month, right? Because we talked about it.
It's October generation for them, it'll come on our November, it'll be on our November Eversource bill.
November Eversource bill, which we'll be receiving shortly. Thank you. Tomorrow, I'm gonna meet with TMA. Not that I'm concerned, but I haven't seen an actual full-blown sit-down audit with the personal property tax audit, so I've called a meeting with TMA representatives tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, so I wanna get an update as to where we are with the TMAs. If you remember back, I believe we put in about $300,000 in personal property audits. So far to date, we've taken in 0. I have 6 months to get a number in, and it needs to be at least a $300,000 number, hopefully. So I will get an update as to where TMA stands. And lastly, I know that was a lot of somber news, but lastly, Hettenberg Properties has officially acquired Ledgebrook Plaza on Friday of last week. It was exciting when Glenn came into my office later in the day after I stopped to see him this morning, asking him if any of the property transfer papers were received. They weren't at the time that I saw our town clerk, but then shortly in the afternoon, he came running upstairs excited with all of the paperwork. Also showed me a nice big check for $175,000 in conveyance fees. Followed up by a few hours after that, it says, correction, only $35,000 of it is ours. So I won't tell you exactly the email back I said to him, but I was counting on that one. It's what we were owed. I was excited that potentially there was $175,000 in conveyance fees, but it's based on the sale price. The state gets $175,000, we're gonna get $35,000. But we do have new owners of Ledgebrook Plaza, as I mentioned at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, and there's one more announcement that I can't make yet, but they will be making possibly by the end of the year. They're just waiting for a potential national tenant to sign the contracts, and they will come out with a big announcement of a new national tenant that will be coming to Winchester. With that, I will open it up to any questions.
Questions from the board? You got off easy.
Got off easy tonight.
Well, it sounds good news that we have potential, a new business coming into town. Some hands change, maybe they can hopefully straighten up the Stop and Shop a little, because I don't go down there, and I know a lot of people don't, so hopefully they can get some people to start shopping for their food there.
Thank you, Selectman Hester. It is exciting news. I will note, and I think I stated it before, that after they had left Town Hall, when they met with us, their next meeting was with the owners of the Stop and Shop. And Stop and Shop has again confirmed that once they've made their investment, they are going to then reinvest in their Stop and Shop to update it to the latest technology. So really exciting news for that area of town. And what's really exciting is that when this hits the newspapers and the internet and all of that, it's going to show that there is serious money getting pumped into this town of ours, which could help us unlock even potential more investment. So let's all stay positive. obviously, we're excited here at Town Hall, but it is really good news, and it's a great way to end the year, and a great way to start the new year.
Absolutely.
No other questions? Moving on to item number 7, Finance Director's Report.
Good evening. These are the general fund results for November 30th, 2024. We are 5 months into the fiscal year, which is 42% of the fiscal year. Current year-to-date property taxes, $15,175,948, which is 55.49% of the budget. That's compared to $15,314,086 for the same period last year, not next year, 57.61%. Past due tax revenue, $180,045, which is at 30% of our current year budget. That's in comparison to $167,454, which was 55.82% in the prior year. Total revenues year to date, $18,470,360, which is 45.26% of budgeted. That's in comparison to $19,699,320, which was 50.34% for the same period last year. Total expenditures year to date, $15,325,155, 37.56% of budget, in comparison to $16,655,749, which was 42.56% of last year's budget. Municipal aid received in the month of November, we received 22 million, woo, that would have been nice. I can't even speak tonight. 22,306 from our Communities Challenge Grant reimbursement from the state. Cash flow at November 30th, this is an estimated number because Cindy is not in to verify this number in total, so I'm giving you an estimate, 9,470,316. Of that, 5 million, just a little over 5.2 million of that was invested, 452,000 in the Northwest Community Sweep, 2,494,000 in STIF, and 2,257,066 in the Northwest Money Market account. Our November 2024 capital expenditures, we paid $90,011 for the Public Works F550 utility truck. We had $229,163 in annual road maintenance costs. Another $6,570 was spent on Communities Challenge for Bridge Street intersection. $12,980 towards the Mad River Deep Trails Grant. $128,165 towards the Brook Street Drainage Project. The remaining 3 are on bond projects, $16,563 for Case Avenue Bridge, $379,803 on Elm Street renovation, and $418,740 on Hubbard Street. And that's it. Questions?
Did you say that Hubbard Street number again?
$418,740.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Anne Marie.
Item number 8, correspondence. Does anyone on the board have anything? Item number 9, boards and commissions. I don't have anything in my packet. No boards or
Nothing new.
commission appointments. Item 10, unfinished business. Item A, approval of the 2025 Board of Selectmen meeting schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back for the second time, and I promise you all that these dates have been verified. As you remember at the last meeting, this is just to set our meeting schedule for the 2025 calendar year. We need a motion.
Move that we accept the 2025 meeting schedule as provided.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Let it be known that there's 3 Tuesday meetings because of Monday holidays next year. All in favor? Unanimous? Item B, 24-50A, consider and possibly act on the proposed revisions to ordinance number 367, vehicles in traffic.
Again, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This goes back to what we spoke about at the last meeting. We've kind of simplified the ordinance right now, and it's talking about just parking of truck traffic onto our residential streets. The original proposal in front of you is suggesting a gross vehicle weight of 10,000 pounds or less. I did receive an email from Selectman Marino talking about GVW and some of the vehicles that are reaching an upwards vicinity of 12,250. I wanted to give Selectman Marino a chance to address the board and state where he and I went in a conversation and also an email and see if this board particularly had a number of where it wanted to end up in terms of the gross vehicle weight. So, Mr. Marino, if you don't mind putting you on the spot.
Yep. So, in my mind, we didn't want to really prohibit pickup trucks, what I would consider to be a standard pickup truck, from being able to park. When you get into pickup trucks that have dual rear wheels, they have those widely extended fenders. They become much heavier duty. They're much bigger and wider. Those would be something we would put on the excluded or wouldn't be able to park list. I took a look at both General Motors and Ford, and up to about 12,250 pounds gross vehicle weight maintains a single rear axle, so one wheel and tire on both sides as opposed to these bigger ones. Anything above that, 14,000 pounds, for example, you get into dual rear wheels. You get into dump trucks that have dual rear wheels. You get into rollback wreckers, that sort of thing, that are all bigger and wider and have dual rear wheels. My recommendation is to take the 10,000 pounds up to 13,500. I think we would, at that number, eliminate the bigger vehicles that we're trying to keep from parking, and yet not have a burden of someone who happens to have a 1-ton single rear wheel pickup truck not be able to park on the road. So at least that's the approach that I took. I think if we go to 13,500 pounds, we would be hitting what we're trying to accomplish, I think. And if you guys have any questions on that stuff, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Andy?
Yeah, this RVs, like I know big RVs, would they be over the 13,000?
Yeah, big RVs would typically be over. Anything that's got, again, so big RVs have dual rear wheels. They have that axle that's got 4 tires on the rear, and they would probably be GVWs that are above the 13.5. And, we could designate RVs separately because they are obviously very identifiable. If we determine that, even a smaller RV shouldn't be parked overnight, we could certainly identify those as different. From an enforcement standpoint, the police can look at registration because the gross vehicle weights are on the registration. They're also on the door jam. So if they're ticketing, they won't be. If it's locked, they can't open the door and look at the door jam. But if someone fights their ticket, then they would have to prove that the vehicle was under these weights. I think the police will get a pretty good handle. And again, anything dual rear wheel is going to give it away. That's going to be very easy for them to understand what to ticket because we shouldn't hit that number at 13.5.
Is there a big difference between 13.5 and 14?
Well, 14,000 would get you into something that again gives you the rear axle of 4 tires. So if you think about a dump truck or you think about a wrecker, those are typically 14, 15. Dump trucks are 18,000 pounds and up, depending on what they are. But they'll have dual rear wheels, so there'll be two tires on the front axle and 4 on the back.
Right.
And the 4 is, I think, what we're really that size vehicles. I think is what we're trying to avoid.
We're trying to avoid,
We don't want those parking overnight.
So 14, would 14 be a better weight?
I think-
13.5, it's like 500 pounds more. Does
Well,
that make a
because
big
in
difference?
case there's in case there's one manufacturer that has a dual rear wheel that starts at 13.5, I thought we'd give ourselves a little bit of 14,000 is where it starts. I wanted to give ourselves a little leeway there.
I I don't understand leeway.
Well, I checked with Ford and General Motors specs. I didn't check with Dodge, I didn't check with Mercedes-Benz. I didn't have the ability to go and look at all those brands. But my experience tells me that, I wanted to stay a little below the 14,000 where I knew the absolute dual rear wheels start in case there's a manufacturer that starts their dual rear wheels below the 14,000.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions?
So this started as a tractor trailer issue, right? And now we're going to the bigger trucks. So I just, right,
By bigger trucks, you mean by something that
13,000
doesn't need a CDL,
yeah,
per se.
13,500. So I just want to make sure that, I saw that you put it on the website, so that's good. But it really, hopefully everybody publicly can see it, maybe make it a news item too. Just in case there's any more feedback from people. Because I think everybody agrees with tractor trailers. I don't think we'll get a pushback on a tractor trailer, but we could get a pushback on a truck.
Yeah, you have, when you start at the tractor trailer level, now you come down to box trucks, right? The larger U-Haul style
Yeah, those
trucks.
make sense too. Yeah.
Right, and then you have dump trucks that are also 10-wheel, 3-axle dump trucks.
That makes sense too.
Right, so we came down to a cutoff where the typical resident driving a pickup truck wouldn't be impacted. But if you have a commercial vehicle and really anything above that, when you get into that 14,000 pound gross vehicle weight, is really a commercial style vehicle, and they're much wider. When you think about parking, when you think about visibility, you're pulling out of a driveway and you've got these much larger commercial vehicles. I don't know, it just seemed to make sense.
Yeah,
with the
I'm
cutoff.
not saying that it doesn't make sense to us. I'm just saying that if people out in the public don't know about it, and then all of a sudden they get a ticket, and just so that people know that this is changing.
Yeah.
It's more my concern than what we change it to exactly, but.
And then, if I may, there was another comment, I think Selectman Perez brought it up, about the actual fine. We did look into state statute. We can go up to $250. If we go above $250, we have to create what's called a citation hearing board. So we are suggesting, and again, if you wanted it changed, now would be the time. We are suggesting a $250 fine for each offense.
So staying with state statute.
State statute was 100 on that. State statute allows us to go up to 250, but on the state statute would be $100 if there was a car. But we can go up to 250 and use our own ordinance and fine that way.
Well, does the police chief still have the ability to waive and warn?
You asked me that question last week, didn't you?
The reason I'm asking is because once this ordinance goes in, right? So the ordinance is sitting there with all the specific information in there. And unless we put in a little caveat in that says, in the first 6 months, people will be given a warning the first time, unless we put something like that in there. Or if the chief, and I think he does, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he does, that he has the right on parking tickets. So if somebody were to come in and they made sense in their explanation, then he might take it back and just say, this is a warning, and so that people don't get caught the first time that aren't meaning to, not meaning to be flagrant about it. And then, be able to, I guess when you institute something, there should be something where, you can introduce it.
Grace period, so to speak.
Yeah, well, not grace, but,
I know what both of you are saying in that a little more of a carrot and a stick approach. You obviously want to, but you want to put this ordinance into effect, and you also want to see immediate action, but you also don't want to penalize, your good citizens of the town.
Hey, when we were on Channel 13, everybody watched us. We were the highest rated TV show going on cable news. But we don't have 13 anymore. I don't think as many people watch us. The newspaper doesn't cover us as much on certain things. So it just would be important for the public to know that this is happening so that people that are just out there working, don't get caught on it.
Can you ask the chief, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, also ask the chief, when they run a registration in the computer system, can they see all of the information? Is that gross vehicle weight part of the information they can see? Because that will help with the enforcement if it is. Like, I showed you a registration
Yep, you
tonight.
show me the reg, yep.
It's right on there. I don't know what they can see when they can see the name and address and maybe who it's registered to. I don't know if they have all of the specifics that the registration has. If it pulls up an actual copy of the registration, then they would see it.
I will say this, moving to the next-gen system, one of the things that the next-gen system does is it talks with the DMV reporting system. I would say, at that point, yes, the system we're currently on, I can't speak to, so I gotta find out from the chief, but we're obviously quickly going to move over, and I'm sure if you got a chance to read the chief's report, you'll see that we've received the server for next-gen, and they're looking to getting that up and running, so we're gonna quickly be transitioning over to that next-gen system. As far as the system we're on now, I can't speak for it, but I know next-gen will.
But it might just be helpful to know whether they have the ability to do it now.
I have another question. Or more of an observation. In the way this is written, so under definition, we say truck, under the word truck, and then we talk about motor vehicle, and then we got prohibited streets, operated truck, and then under parking restriction, the parking of trucks. Should these be vehicles?
I would change the word to vehicle, yeah,
Yeah,
because,
Instead of truck?
yeah. I mean, typically they are trucks, but I think I'd change the word. Especially when you get into RVs, right?
Well, yeah, that's, I mean,
Yeah.
we're, within here, there's two different things going on.
Yeah, I'd make any reference to truck and any of the different areas that they have it here, that it's changed to vehicles herein.
Do that?
Anything else?
And I hope I'm done.
Did you have a question?
Just a comment about how you would let the public know, as you did with the sidewalk, parking on sidewalks, you stressed public education. I think you need to post it and again, get the other links working, because it's not, parking on a sidewalk is still an issue and there is no more public information about it is illegal. So I think that's important.
And I'll note, I am meeting with Civic Lift tomorrow at, I think, 9 a.m. to talk
Oh,
about,
good.
9 or 10,
Okay.
sometime tomorrow morning, to find out about those links at the
Very
bottom
good.
of the page. So they're scheduled and finally got somebody to respond. And I do want to get those links either fixed or figure it all out, but yeah, tomorrow I'm meeting with them in the
It
morning.
needs to be out there.
Agreed.
So
No other questions? Do we have a motion?
yes. I move that the Board of Selectmen recognize this as the first of 3 public meetings where a revision to ordinance number 380 must be discussed, and that the revision of this ordinance be referred to the next meeting for the second step in the revision process.
I'll second it. And then, for discussion, has this been sent to Kevin Nelligan yet?
Yes, and it also has been sent to E-Code as well. They helped craft some of the language in it as well. Yes.
So Kevin's gotten back to us?
Kevin's gotten back to us, and E-Code has gotten back to us as well.
Can you send it again with the changes we
Definitely.
put in there?
Yep.
To vehicle?
We can do that.
We need Paul to correct his motion.
Did you say 380 or 367? I apologize, that's a typo. It should be 367.
Amend this to be ordinance 367 must be discussed. You want me to read the whole motion again for the record? I'll do the whole motion again. I withdraw the previous motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen recognize this as the first of 3 public meetings where a revision to ordinance 367 must be discussed, and that the revision of this ordinance be referred to the next meeting for the second step in the revision process.
Thanks, Paul. Is there a second?
No, I'll second again.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Moving on to item 11, new business 24-55, refunds as recommended by the Collector of Revenues.
So before you is a list of either overpayments or certification of corrections from our tax collector in the amount of $35.83, excuse me. Any questions?
You have a motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the refunds recommended by the Collector of Revenue in the amount of $3,582.83.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Linda. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Item B, vote to add the town manager as a member to the Northwest Connecticut Transit Board.
So as talked about in my town manager's report, that I do attend the meetings, and unfortunately I am not a voting member, and per their bylaws, this board needs to officially add the town manager as a voting member of the Northwest Transit District. I can say that in the past, town manager Kelly was a voting member, but at the time, the board had voted town manager Kelly as a voting member of the Northwest Transit District. So the Northwest Transit District felt that this board should vote to add town manager Harrington. Selectwoman and I countered and said, we're just gonna vote the town manager as a member of the Northwest Transit District. So if I ever become abducted by an alien or something like that, it continues seamlessly, and the town manager will always be, a town manager of Winchester will always be a voting member of the Northwest Transit District. I can tell you that it is important that we are the second largest cost percentages, and right now we're only having one vote on that board. And I think 2 votes. I believe Selectwoman and I had a very robust conversation with a lot of the board members and looked at the budget very differently than what a lot of the towns may be looking at. And towards the end of the call, I unfortunately had to jump off because of the OSHA inspection. There was a lot of back and forth questions. And I think with both her and I being voting members on the board, we'll ensure a little bit more of our taxpayer dollars being spent wisely. There is, I did include, I wanted to do, but I wanted it more official. I did include something at your place tonight of a motion that I would put forward if you all feel comfortable with that particular motion.
We have a motion?
I move that we appoint town manager as a voting member of the Northwestern Connecticut Transit District.
Second.
Can you just amend that to say a member of the Northwest Transit Board?
Amend to have our, the Winchester town manager be a voting member of the Transit Board.
Second? Bill?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
I
Thank
just
you.
learned all the specific language the hard way when I went to a bank to make an account, and we only had half of what we needed there. And so I'm sure the transit board would have said, you can't make him a voting member, it's a board member.
Thank you.
Excellent grab on that one. Good.
Well, I just learned the hard way because it took me over a week to correct what I had to do.
Would have been that January meeting where the budget vote came up too, so.
Yeah, probably.
Moving on to item C, discussion on the Main Street Traffic Ad Hoc Committee.
Thank you. Come on up, Ms. Samard. As you remember, at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, there were potentially 2 ad hoc boards that were looking to be formed. First one being is a traffic safety ad hoc committee, another one being the Sue Grossman Trail. Sue Grossman Trail, we kind of just tabled for just a little bit, working with some of the individuals, SIF grants. We'll start to discuss that a little bit more in January, but this one really, because of the hard work by, of course, you, who went out and started talking with people and getting people like excited about this. So tonight, Annie is here with a list of people. I'm gonna then turn it over to you.
So I have to tell you, it really wasn't very hard work to to get people that wanted to be involved in this. And there's a long list. I mean, we talked about keeping the actual committee rather small. And as you can see by the names that I'm submitting, it's very diversified. I'll give you a moment to take a look at it. You'll see I put like what I see their roles and what they bring to the table next to their name, among other things. But when I was creating it, I was thinking about filling different roles within the committee. I also have 3 young people that I've asked to be a part of it. I think it's very important, both energetically. I'm not saying this is just mentorship and just bringing young people into community support, but I do think that they will add both in social media, also just Ben is on here, and I put Ben on because he's such a doer. I wrote the doer. When we were decorating the downtown, he was just like a problem solver. He was willing and able and capable and a big yes, and I think on any committee that's super important. And then Sam really impressed me speaking in front of all of you. Last time we were here, he took it upon himself to watch the speedometer and sit there and kind of document what the speed was on Main Street, which I thought really showed a lot of self-initiative. When I called all 3, including Nicole, they were all an immediate yes. The other people on the committee bring good network, good, a lot of experience, and I think it gives us a very diversified group of people to work with. And then behind these people, I have met with the RNC, and I'm going to meet with the DNC about getting backed by both of those committees. RNC was very positive and supportive. Dewey's here. Dewey came to our office. Dewey also from Economic Development is very willing to be any part that he can. Honestly, I've had literally all day today, people were sending me messages saying they want to be a part of this committee, they want to help in any way they can. I personally think it is hugely important that the community be involved. I think the community is the biggest part of this. And I think getting this out on social media and involving the community will be a big part of our success. And having the right people that network with the right people will also. I didn't submit any kind of like plan of action. I have been working on it, but I do want you to know that my intention is to start small. The whole, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And I've made, like for 2024, like this is it. We form the committee. And then we start our first meeting in 2025 with brainstorming. And there are small little things that we can get done that will show our community that we're serious, that we're in action. I think it's really important that we go after some small wins to show the community that things are happening and start to build some momentum while we're working on an 8 to 10 year plan that will involve much bigger engineering and dreaming and figuring out and how we're gonna actually take care of the bigger picture. Do you have any questions?
I'm going to add to a few of the things.
Okay.
So some of the other people that, Rista, Casey from the COG, both of those 2 individuals will help us, potentially with any grant opportunities. Casey being the transportation director of the COG, she's going to have a wealth of knowledge that she comes over with. One of the emails, I think we got it over the weekend, was from our own Sergeant Duvall, who wanted to be a member as well. And, thinking about it for a second, yes, we need police presence on it because we could be thinking of something
Yes.
where, well, no, you can't really do that. News that is breaking, and you're going to be a little shocked. So I was up at the COG meeting, obviously, last week. I met with the first selectman of Washington. They're the first town that was able to unlock that speed
Yes.
camera. Well, of course, I had to gather as much information. I'm happy to report that on January 2nd, I'll be meeting with our chief of police. Because I knew you were coming tonight, I'll be inviting you to the meeting as well, to sit down with DARCA Technology to try and figure out to do everything that Washington, the town of Washington did to unlock these speed cameras. And I can tell you, when the first selectman sat across the table from me and said, it cost me no money out of my pocket, Paul, I do get $10 for every ticket it writes. And he says, already, people are already slowing down. So I immediately had to jump on that. We have a meeting scheduled with DARCA Technology on January 2nd to try and unlock maybe a speed camera right here in our own town as well.
That's awesome.
So, you
That's
excited
awesome.
me.
Yeah.
And then everything just happened, and I was at the meeting, and he talked about it, and of course I had to pull him aside, and we're gonna get momentum, and I know you and I talked, and we were gonna try and start small, but what a great entrance if we can unlock
Yeah.
one of these speed cameras within our first quarter of this, committee being formed, if it gets formed.
Yeah, I think it would be great. And I mean, there's some other ideas, but you're right, like, that would be fantastic, yeah.
Big win.
Yeah, I
Gives a
did
lot of
read that
momentum.
article. I
So,
did read the article, yeah.
Read the article, and I think I was at the COG meeting that morning. And so, of course, I jumped right on it, and then
Good,
got
good.
contact numbers we needed to get, and the chief of police has helped open up those doors as well. So exciting on January 2nd. I'll send you the invite for sure.
All right,
So we can
thank
get all
you.
the details, but.
It's on
we're-
my calendar,
We're
I'll
off
be
on
there.
January 2nd.
I'll be
I
there,
think
I'll
it's
be there.
8 or 9 a.m., but I'll get it to you.
Another positive note, can you check in with Kent? Kent had a article in the newspaper, I think I sent you part of it,
Yeah,
Friday or Saturday, that they're starting they're in the, I don't know what percent of their process to get to a speed camera.
Okay.
So one of the things they were talking about was an ordinance that goes with it. Caught my eye, because this board will then have to develop that ordinance in conjunction with the ad hoc committee. So there's a role for us in this as well.
There is a role. There will be an ordinance that will need to go to town meeting as well,
Mm-hmm.
that we would have to create all this. I'm gonna find out more of they gave me a little preview of what they're gonna talk to us about on the 2nd, but they said that be prepared, that this is a process. It's
Yeah.
gonna need an ordinance, it's gonna need a town meeting, that you're putting a camera somewhere within your town, but, it's definitely a process, but I'm looking forward to getting as much information, and I took the first meeting that was available, which was January 2nd.
I think it's really something very, very, very supported by our town, by everyone, and getting as many people involved. And I think anytime you do anything with the public, there are people that will have a problem with it anytime. But I think a majority of people really want the streets safer and support this work. So I feel like we'll all be supported, and we should get as much help as we can. It's very exciting.
We would need a motion to form the board if the board, likes the names that, we've put together. And obviously, the Board of Selectmen, as we've stated earlier, you're going to have your involvement just based on different things that we're going to look to unlock. In that you will either, need to pass an ordinance or need to vote on whatever we come up with. And that's why we've kept the Board of Selectmen out of it. We didn't want to give a particular person 2 bites of an apple. We wanted, because I think eventually you will be taking action on a lot of the things that come forward from this board.
The other piece is, I really want to work for you. Like, I really want to be the boots on the ground in the committee, to be the boots on the ground, to do a lot of that work for you, so that, and we work together, I really feel like this is something we can all collaborate on. So, yeah.
I have one question, Annie, and I should probably know this, but what does LMTZ or LMTC stand for?
Left message to call.
Ah, thank you.
It's like old school.
It wasn't some like special
It's-
designation they
No,
had.
it's
huh?
old school. That's old school.
Okay.
Fancy letters after.
I thought they had some designation there. Like,
No, that's the real.
let me think about downtown or something. I don't know.
No.
Okay, thank you for that.
And I'm assuming you meant RTC and DTC, town committees, not
Yeah,
national
yeah.
committees? Okay.
Yeah.
So just ad hoc committees, when we form this and meet, the minutes of meetings, agendas, will need to be posted.
The minutes to our, and the agendas to our meetings,
Once this ad hoc committee is formed,
yeah,
a lot of times there's minutes and
Okay.
agendas that get posted.
okay.
So Paul, if you could look into that.
On the town website, can't
You
you,
and I
right?
will
It's gotta be
talk.
posted publicly?
Well, I want
Okay.
him to look into it. but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Because it's coming from this board, it's probably gonna need agendas posted and minutes, but you and I.
Figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Not the hardest thing.
Yeah, I'm a cowboy. I can just we'll just figure it out. Okay.
It's not hard to do, it's just that sometimes people don't know they're supposed to do that.
Do we have to do all the formality that you guys do? Like there's a lot of formality to public meetings?
The Roberts rules you're talking about.
Yeah, oh, is that what it's called,
Well,
Robert's Rules?
Well, you would need an agenda,
Yeah,
right? So,
so that's just like what we're gonna talk about in that meeting, and then someone would take notes on it.
yep.
Okay,
And then like we have an agenda review at the beginning.
yep,
You know, you could look at like the Conservation Commission, they do, I believe they have agendas, you know, like even the Historical Commission has an agenda.
Soldiers Monument.
Water,
yeah,
sewer,
yeah.
everybody has
Everybody.
that, so
all right.
you know them.
I'm open to learning.
Listen, the Roberts Rules book is only that thick. And it's
From-
great reading.
I try, sounds like a snooze fest,
It's
but,
not that bad. We can work through it.
All right.
Basically,
I'm
it's
not-
like what we do here, what you do on other boards too, where, you know,
Yeah.
people make motions.
okay,
And it's important because we're gonna use those meeting minutes for when we go and seek, that we have this, group of 9, actively working to do all of this stuff. I think it's gonna help us unlock even more as we look to do more. And it's a great idea for agendas. And I'm gonna look, I already know where it's probably gonna be a yes, but I'm not stressed over getting agendas
Okay.
and meeting minutes out. I guess the only other question is, I'm not a member.
well,
I didn't
I
make the
didn't know if
list.
I should put you on there. I thought I was submitting my ideas to you.
I
And
think
then-
in your role, you're.
I can sit on that, right? I know
Well,
the
you can-
mayor has a seat on
You
some
may not
stuff.
have a vote,
Yep,
right, but you can go to any.
I can go to anything, okay. All right,
Be
good.
the town liaison?
Well, I would like you to be a member.
Yeah, I just didn't, but I think as
Him?
town manager, I can put myself, and I don't need to be a voting member, but I can sit and I can interject and I can talk to you guys and I can, hit the different ideas and stuff like that. I just didn't want anyone to think that I didn't want to be a part of it, because I certainly do.
Okay.
Because I think the energy you and I have together
Yeah,
is
I
just
agree.
unstoppable, so.
All right, I
Yeah, I
agree.
think you could act as the liaison for the town.
Okay.
But, but you are you're the big cheese whiz, right, so.
Cheese whiz.
Jeez,
I don't
that's a
know.
compliment.
I'm not even gonna go there.
Cheese whiz.
No.
And the two of you with your energy, I'm not sure what that's gonna happen with that, there's like too much of that.
The walls may come down, I don't know. The walls may come down.
No, but you as a town manager, you oversee everything and you have the authority to do so, so.
You're an
You
ad
just
hoc
can't-
member of
I'm
the
an ad hoc
ad hoc
member no
committee.
matter what.
You
Yeah.
just can't
Yeah.
vote on it.
Fine.
But then a lot of people can go to meetings and, talk and have, most of the meetings and have something to say, except like state statute boards, and not be a voting member,
I think it's gonna be important, because we wanna bring in technology. We wanna use the boards, we wanna show, as we work with our group. And I'm sure, because of the interest that you've gotten, we're probably going to wanna have the meetings in here, because I think you're gonna have a lot of public interest as well.
I hope so.
And especially if we get out of the gate quickly and we start doing the little things, and if we can get these speed cameras, I think the interest will just soar. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too, thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion to create the ad hoc Winston Traffic Safety Commission with the following members: Annie Samard, Carrie Stetson, Willie Platt, Rista Malanka, Catherine Farsi, Justin Duvall, Nicole Ladd, Ben Stetson, and Sam Guglielmino.
So moved. And I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Yay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on to item D, discussion regarding business recognition. Selectman Pozo, Selectman Hester.
Go ahead, Bill. So, this is just a little, idea that we've been working on for quite some time. I'd given you guys one handout, but I got a couple more. I didn't get a chance to, run them off. With some discussion with some town employees, we actually come up, you can pass this around. We liked this a little better. Rather than the award is a plaque. Well, basically what I'd like to do is once a meeting, it'd take us 5 minutes in the beginning of a meeting to bring in a different business in town. I got a list from the assessor's office of businesses in Winchester, which was absolutely eye-opening because there's not just what we see on Main Street, there's hundreds of businesses, from seamstresses at home to landscapers, and we don't get to meet a lot of them as we do with the people of Main Street. So we thought if we could call one business in at each meeting, whether they want to attend or not, give them a little certificate and just basically thank them from the town and from the selectmen for their dedication to sticking with Winchester. So I guess what I'm looking for is if we want to have another meeting after this, we have a discretionary fund for the Board of Selectmen. I think we knocked it down in last year's budget. It's only $1,000. But if you look at these plaques, we're looking at $10, $15 each. We can print their certificates right here in town. So I'd like to see if you guys would be on board with spending a couple $100 getting some of these plaques.
Yeah, just some suggestions. I think business recognition is always a good thing to do. I think a couple $100 is not a problem. But I know Dewey's here. I saw him come in tonight. I didn't know if you were here for the speed thing or for this part, but EDC does business recognition now. They're doing some recognition now, and I was wondering if maybe you have met with them or could meet with them to talk about business
Absolutely.
recognition. And the reason I say that is, we had recognized every business right at the tail end of COVID with the certificate. And so I know that it was well received, but we did like all businesses, that were here in the town at the time, to recognize how everyone did it. By bringing one person a meeting, it's only 24 businesses over the course of the year. And I know that all of you would hate to leave anybody out. And if you were gonna do one business a meeting, or two businesses a meeting, I think there would be some criteria for the recognition that you would have, so that when whoever it was, I'm sure you're thinking everybody.
Oh, everybody,
You know,
absolutely.
but,
Yeah.
Sometimes no good deed. So, I guess I would just ask if you would meet with EDC about.
Absolutely, and that's why I
before
wanted
we
to get
do
this, I wanted to
Yeah.
get this on the agenda to open this discussion, not to make a decision tonight.
Because I know they've been doing some things here and there and little
Yeah.
things, and they've been discussing it for, probably a couple of years and whatnot. So I would do that, talk with them, criteria, and then
Sounds good.
that would be my take on it all.
Absolutely, yep, we can do that. I'll set up a meeting with you guys.
Hey, Bill, how many businesses were on the list?
Always a couple hundred, Paul.
Right, so at a couple hundred, we'd be here 20 years before we get to the.
I think this is something that even we work with.
Do we get to all of them?
Yeah,
right?
it's something we work with EDC, and just this should be, whether it's us sitting up here or somebody else sitting up here, this should just be a continuing
If there
tradition that's
was,
really started that.
getting to know them is going out and visiting them or a lot of different things, and whatever EDC is doing to recognize them, I think is cool. If there's an outstanding, business that touches the community in some way, or, hires a bunch of employees in a particular, I'm making this up as I go, but that you wanted to recognize with some type of outstanding award, once a year, that might be cool and exciting to do, based on some criteria. I think to get every business, the 200 of them in here, to give them this over a period of time, I just don't know if it's practical, but I'd love to, recognizing one or two a year that do something really outstanding would be cool. And let's see what EDC does.
Well, like major milestones, like if a company has a major milestone coming up.
Yeah.
Whether, but I think they have a lot of ideas,
Yeah,
having been to.
DC does that. They have videos on their website. They recognize all the businesses, so you really need to coordinate with them.
Well,
There's a
again, this is
meeting-
why I
there's a
opened this
meeting
discussion.
tomorrow
and-
evening.
And EDC may, but again, I've been here a year and a half, and I haven't seen, I've done some ribbon cuttings with you guys and whatnot, but again, maybe it's a public perception thing. I don't see it on the videos and
If-
whatnot. And I walk every weekend,
Okay.
hit the businesses on Main Street.
If you think about, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Go
to
ahead,
interrupt.
go ahead.
If you think about some of the businesses in the last several years, you gave us an example of the Little Red Barn, right? Well, there's a business, when you look at that building 10 years ago, that's a business I would say, hey, outstanding achievement for cleaning up that whole area and being a really big contributor to the town. What's going on with the marina, and if you look at the marina 10 years ago versus those are some examples of businesses that have had a market change that you can see. So anyway, just some thoughts. And I
That's
didn't mean
great
to
too, but
interrupt
I
you.
also don't want to
apologize.
lose in sight, we have, again, landscapers, seamstresses that have been in business in this town for 15, 17, 18 years, that are working out of their homes that are, really just important of a service, so.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking anything away from
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But
Just what's
no,
practical for us to do here, and
Right.
Yeah.
as opposed to what EDC is doing. And
Again, yep. So this is why we opened the discussion.
Exactly.
I'd be remiss if I didn't, so I will state that when Little Red Barn hit their 5-year anniversary, I remember, because unfortunately I had COVID and I couldn't even go out there, but I know Chairperson Dewey was out there, Bob Geiger and our mayor went out, and they did give him a certificate for being in business for 5 years as a transformational project. So, as, we learn stuff, obviously in town, we try and go out and recognize. Can we hit them all? By no means, probably not. But when they do certain businesses at certain milestones and they had a transformational, impact on the town, we'll go out there, we'll team up with EDC immediately, bring the mayor in. And so we did, I do want to say we have been out, but not to the extent, I think. But I think if they're meeting tomorrow night, I don't know what your agenda looks like, but you can definitely do it in January.
Yep. And I know some of the recognitions that Candy spoke about from the COVID time are still hanging in some of the businesses today.
I never really knew, it was a certificate, right? It wasn't a big.
Right.
But it was,
right.
people like, thank you, so.
Yeah.
Anything else? That's it. All right, moving on to item E, roadway and infrastructure update. Jim?
Jim, did you stop in your mailbox? Yep. You did? That's the report. Came over later this evening, so we had to print them out.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. And I apologize, before Jim gets going, with OSHA being here last week, and I know we stated we were unsure if Jim was going to be able to update this report based on where OSHA had us going, but fortunately, Jim pulled a Herculean effort and got the report done, and that's why we added it to the agenda on Friday.
For the record, Jim Rollins, Director of Public Works. This is the same format that I've used, I think, maybe 2 or 3 times now, where the most recent update is in red font to make it much easier to blow through quickly and efficiently. each time I kind of add a little bit to it, not because I want to make it longer for you guys, but this time I added right at the very, very end, the last page, I've just put a 2024 summary, highlights. And if you just want to go right to page 7. It's a quick, easy thing to go, so Chapel Road was reclaimed and, new drainage reclaimed and paved, and that's complete. Hannafin Road has been reclaimed and paved. All that's left on there is just some shoulder restoration. Hubbard Street is substantially complete, just a little bit of punch list items for spring. Same with Elm Street. Old Colebrook Road has been milled and paved, and a new culvert has been put in. Indian Meadow Drive has been, that was milled and paved, and again, a little bit of shoulder restoration. But those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roads that were, completely repaved, giving them a good, good long lifespan, 20 to 30 years with proper maintenance. So that's a big step. Chapel Road was, Chapel Road was capital improvements. The rest of them, I believe, were all bond projects. Just below that, there's, about 8 or 9 other projects. Brook Street drainage, that was another capital improvement thing that this board funded in the last budget, and that's been completed. The Old Colebrook Road culvert, which I made a little bit of mention of before, that one's complete. The retaining wall at East Wakefield Boulevard is essentially complete. There'll be a little bit of cleanup in the spring. Smith Hill Road Bridge rehabilitation is done. We did some drainage on Orchard Street. That wasn't actually a capital improvement project that was funded. We just did that out of regular road maintenance money. It was just some drainage that we just couldn't control the ice up there. So we redid the drainage partly with in-house forces, partly with a subcontractor. Got a little bit left to do to blend everything in with somebody's sidewalk, but we just couldn't pull that off before winter hit. We put in guide rail on Taylor Brook Road and a little bit on Stanton Avenue. We got about half of Taylor Brook done. We ran out of money. Guide rail is just insanely expensive. Took care of a long-standing drainage problem at the corner of Crescent, Wetmore, and Hinsdale Avenues. Added a basin that was removed by somebody at some point in time, so we replaced that and connected it to an existing drainage system. We've got everything ready for the Bridge Street, Prospect Street, Willow Street, Depot Street intersection. We've got a grant to redo that intersection to improve traffic flow and safety, and we had to do a bunch of work ahead of that before we can actually, do the road construction. It's a pretty radical change to that intersection is what's been proposed by the engineers. So our intention is to paint it out in its new configuration in the spring so that people can get used to it before we dump a ton of money into doing it. And then the spillways up at the lake, the walk bridge. One side of that we replaced the superstructure and decking a couple of years ago. We just restained that to try to keep it in good shape, and inspected the other side, and the superstructure and deck on the other side is gonna need replacement soon. So we're keeping an eye on that, and we'll try to, in our spare time, work on getting all the parts and components collected so we can hit it hard and make it happen. So again, those are just the really quick, summary of the highlights. You can go through the whole report and, pick away at the details, but it's, most of them are marginal, little incremental steps, so it's kind of hard to just get up here and talk about them and take up all the time of everybody here. And then under the miscellaneous, just up above, we had a grant for an urban tree inventory. The field work's been completed. We're reviewing the document and touching it up to just to make it a little more reader and user-friendly. And I'll leave it at that. We do have a phase 2 of that coming up, but we really needed the data and the information from phase 1 before embarking on it. So we bit off a small amount early. Our salt shed is full. We've got a feasibility study for the new Public Works facility. Our first, kickoff meeting is starting on January 9th, so that's exciting. The feasibility study will aid us in getting additional funding and grants and so forth. The 800 band radios for Public Works, we're hopefully going to have those up and running sometime here in late December to early January. That's been a long road to get to. Right now, our trucks are flying blind. The radios we have hardly work at all. Highland Lake, actually Farmington River Watershed, along with, I don't know if it was the Highland Lake Association or who it was, did the rain garden up at Risha Beach, and Public Works, contributed with equipment and labor.
Conservation Commission, I think. Jim.
That's who it was, thank you. The Holland Beach parking lot is scheduled to take off in the spring. We've got purchase orders written to the contractor, and I'll be going in for a wetlands permit sometime this winter to get that thing off and going. Our intention is to clean up that parking lot, increase the number of spaces, pave it, and try to take care of those 2 drainage problems that cause nothing but nightmares over there. East End Park, we had taken down a few trees over the years. We ground those stumps, soiled, seeded them, and we are working on replacing those trees with something new. And part of the urban tree inventory was to help us figure out what's the best tree for the location, to add some diversity, as well as provide the type of shading that is most appropriate for a park. Our street sweeping. We're done for the year. Obviously, it's getting too cold. It's a good thing we're done because we've got about a $10,000 repair needed. The way that machine works is the brooms sweep everything into a pile under the machine, and a vacuum sucks it up. And the fan that sucks everything up is constantly getting pelted with sand, and it just wore out. So it's really just an indicator of the use that it gets. Roadside mowing. Unfortunately, we cut our season short on roadside mowing because the roadside mower sprung a leak between the axle and the transmission. And what we've learned since we bought that machine is the mower on the tractor is way too heavy for the tractor's capacity. So we think it's the extreme weight is flexing those joints ever so much and wearing out things. We've gone through axle bearings and so forth and so on. So we're looking at about $26,000 in repairs to get that up and running. So we're exploring our options on the best way to do that. Leaf pickup is done for the year. This year, our fall dirt road regrading was limited really only to Preston Road. Most of the rest of them were in pretty good shape. And the main reason for that is over the years, we've changed the material that they used to use on dirt roads. Back, Rotundo was a big fan of limestone because it was cheap and inexpensive. We decided to change that to a 3-inch minus aggregate, which packs really hard. The other reason they hold up so much better is we invested in a big heavy-duty roller a few years ago, and you pound it down with that machine, and it just knocks that 3-inch minus into a layer that's just bulletproof. It doesn't wash away in storms. It's been truly. We used to have to regrade the roads 3, 4, 5 times a year. Now we're doing it some roads once, some roads twice, some roads once every couple of years. So huge improvement in efficiency. We're just getting ready. This is the time of year where the superintendent of streets sends out letters to those who are sending water out into the streets or sidewalks causing hazards. Usually it's sump pumps. Sometimes it's, gutters are being discharged out. But He sends those letters out now because it has more impact. People can see the ice it causes. And we've been doing it for about 2 years now. We get pretty good response from people when they can actually see the impact of what they're doing. We did some significant shimming on Newfield Road and Wanee Road. Certainly not road repairs, but it's certainly enough to improve our ability to plow and for people's ability to travel. We're done with our basin cleaning around Highland Lake until spring. And then, Paul touched on the OSHA inspection. And essentially the word that we got from the inspector as he was leaving was any violation we had was less than, or other than serious, which that's a good thing. The vast majority of them were housekeeping items, simple things to rectify. Some of them are gonna be time consuming, but they're inexpensive and simple. Really the only difficult things is we were quite deficient in written policies. You need a written policy for every damn thing that happens, and we're a long way from that. But fortunately, that's one thing that our asset management program is good for, is storing those SOPs in a place that someone can find them and is accessible to anybody that uses it. So we got a chance to really make some improvements based on this inspection. 8 years ago, they came through, and we had quite a few violations that were more problematic. So we've come a long way. These were, I think, safety data sheets were really the one thing that is really hard to stay on top of, but we didn't do bad. So all in all, I think we can be proud of that we've maintained the improvements that we made 8 years ago. And I was hoping to have a cost for the first storm of the year, but we just ran out of time. So I'll try to keep a spreadsheet of the cost of each storm, material and overtime that we put into it. We usually do it, it's just a nice little thing to kind of track things, and it's surprising when you see it. Sometimes a little 4-inch storm will cost you, like that one. That one was a 12-hour storm for 3-4 inches. Sometimes you get a foot of snow and you'll be done in half the time. So it's a really interesting document to look at. So we'll update that and get it to you over time. But so that's the highlights. If you have any questions, fire away.
Questions from the board? Paul?
So a couple things, Jim. Just any update on the Highland Lake drainage problem where we're flooding the road? It was interesting. The lake went down at record speed, I think, this year. You guys must have opened it up, and I'm surprised they weren't using canoes down on
Boyd Street?
On Boyd Street, but there were several comments that did come up from residents down there that were unhappy with the water. I mean, from the perspective of getting the lake down in time, we certainly met that, and of course it didn't start to freeze until the last week or so, but between that and the gate maintenance, because I understand the gate doesn't actually completely close even when you want it closed.
I'm not sure the gate is even designed to close completely. I think you're supposed to maintain some flow down that stream for environmental reasons. So
Gotcha.
I'm not sure if it was ever even designed to close all the way. We think it closes within an inch or two of the bottom, but without being able to get in there and see it, I don't know exactly. It could just be a stick stuck in there, but you'd think that would wash out with the volumes that we were flowing. So to answer your question, I do have a write-up on the second to last page, second paragraph down. But the short answer is, yeah, we opened the gates up. I think we went to 16 inches, knowing we were gonna flood out Boyd Street. We did that with the blessing of DOT. We did it hard, we did it fast, we did it early before we had a chance of freezing. I think one night DOT had to come in and throw some salt down, but we hammered it hard. We wanted to bring it down as fast as we could without putting water into places like buildings downstream that could experience some issues. So I think we balanced it pretty good. We overshot a little bit. They should have closed it one night sooner than they did. So we were about 3 inches low at one point. Maybe it was more than that, might have been 4 inches. Anyway, but the good news is we got it down fast. We're able to keep it down. As far as the progress on solving the issue, it's really in DOT's hands, and they have reached out to the property owner where the water is coming off of and onto the highway, and they've, you know, they recognize the problem. They don't necessarily think they're the cause of it. They're trying to cast the blame, you know, to the person that owns the stream bank. So now DOT's in touch with them too. So they're actively pushing towards these people to try to work together and come up with a resolution. Don't know where that's gonna go or how it's gonna play out, but they, you know. any
There's
commu-
activity though, right?
Yeah,
That's good news.
yeah, any communication that comes to me, I'm sharing with all parties.
It becomes a problem from the DOT's perspective that they can't use state funds to improve a private residence, is where the DOT's drawing the line, and that you're improving an area that, you know, that's owned by a private residence, so.
And the right-of-way is narrow, and there's utilities everywhere already, and they also have MS4 requirements where they can't just discharge untreated water into a water course. So they're balancing out all the hurdles with all the players. And, you know, we've had pretty good back and forth so far. So, you know, they certainly have a lot more horsepower than we do. So it's in the right hands, and a little bit of nudging from us from time to time is helpful.
No, I'm excited to hear that there's actually activity, that it's
Yep, there
moving in a direction. The other question I had for you, and I don't know if that's the project here that says 800-ish, but is that the ice dam that forms at the end of the lake where you guys have to bring that giant
Yep.
machine up?
Yeah, that's it.
That's a hazard. When that thing
Yeah, it
freezes
is.
there, and I don't have to tell you how much traffic is on that road, because we all lived it when it was closed
Yep.
in the last few weeks. Are we making any progress on solving that problem?
Yeah, we know what we're gonna do. I just have to get a wetlands permit to do it. So that'll happen this winter, and then we'll be able to do it at some point. We won't do it in the winter time, because that's just not very efficient, unless we get a super great break. But because we're within 100 feet of the lake, I gotta get a wetlands permit. So that's really just waiting on me to find a time to make that happen.
That'll be a big improvement for that.
Yeah, we
Because
got
every year that freezes in such a way that it's almost impassable.
Yeah, we've got another one. We got 2 or 3 of those around the lake, and I'd really like to we know what we wanna do. It's just a matter of getting the permits and then pulling the trigger on it.
Okay, and then the last thing for me, just a food for thought. Glad to see that the retaining wall's done. That was great, and it looks great, and it's nice to drive on that little stretch of road that's so
hitting that
nice and smooth. And but when we're gonna close, that's a weird road to close, right? You close a road downtown, you go 1 block over, you can get around. That road is a tough road to close. There's only 3 ways off of it in the 7 miles that it is. We had a lot of feedback from we didn't communicate that as well as we should have, that it was closing.
You
I
are
know
correct.
you got caught with a last-minute schedule change and what have you, but, you know, we had school buses that didn't know where to go, and it was a bit of a problem that first day. So even if it goes out over the weekend or whatever the case may be, we've got to let folks know that when we're going to close that road, that you better make plans ahead of time.
Yeah, it's not just that road. I get the same thing no matter what I do, where I do it. But yeah, we got caught. That was kind of the perfect storm. It was a holiday weekend, and I wasn't notified till everybody was gone from town hall that makes those notifications. The contractor notified the bus company, but not in enough time to make things happen. So yes, it could have and should have been planned better, and we're working on doing that, but that one didn't go as smoothly as it should.
I was thinking too about emergency services, right?
Oh, they know.
Okay, they
Yeah,
knew.
yeah,
Okay.
That's all. So we have a road closure policy, and that involves notifying emergency services so they're aware, and you know, that stuff gets done, but, you know, buses don't always end up with that. We typically try to make our road closings for after the buses leave in the morning and before they come back. This was a longer term thing. Again, we had a small window. I had talked to the contractor just, you know, days before it got closed, and he was still more than a week out. And at the last second, after everybody had left on a Friday or Thursday, whatever the day was, he says, I can be there on Monday if that works. I didn't want to miss the good weather, and I just pulled the trigger. So in the end, ultimately, it was my decision, so I'll take the blame for it. But yeah,
But even, even those of us that, like, I have a social media page for my Selectmen page, right? And I was getting information out to people once we found out. I mean, I drove up to it at 7 o'clock and we're like, holy cow, what's this, right? So even if you need us to put out some information, I know
Yeah, no,
Paul's
we-
available all the time. He can get it on the website. but-
believe
We've
me,
talked, Jim
we've
and I've
had that
talked, it'll
talk.
always come to me, everyone
Yeah,
knows,
And
everyone's calling me at
Enough,
random hours.
enough said, but we just.
Give me
that
the
was
info
a-
and it'll get out.
Well,
No
I
doubt.
just would say something else, though. Having experienced multiple road closures in different places, I think the signage is fine where the closure is. It's the signage that maybe we could add before you get to that spot. So like on that side, you couldn't come all the way down the east side and out to Torrington, right? So, and that started up at East Lake Street, right? So a sign that had better language on it to say, access for locals.
Yeah, I got criticized about that as well.
No,
so-
but I mean, the language like that, like sometimes, even like when West Wakefield is closed sometimes at Sucker Brook, like you can come down and you can go up Sucker Brook, but you can't go all the way down West Wakefield.
Yep.
And that was something that happened a while ago. That,
Yep.
that maybe some language at the start of like Sucker Brook up at Platt Street to say that, no, you can't get down, you can't use this to get through Torrington. And I don't know how you exactly word it to get it on those signs, but.
So therein lies the problem. We've got one variable message board, and something like that would need several. So it's challenging, and the wording it's tough. It's tough,
Yeah.
and we know we need to do a better job at that. And I've been caught in it myself. No need to get into the details of it, but yeah, it's infuriating when it happens. But it's,
I always just think if there was a way to do it well ahead of where the,
Yeah,
issue
I know
is.
how you should do it and where you should do it, and it's just knowing that isn't really enough. There's a lot of logistics to it, and
I know you
your point is made.
well, I know you put up these big signs and stuff, but, maybe something like a banner sign that's not that long to create that could put more information on it, or some of the signs that we use for
Yeah,
Like-
so
the 18 by 24 signs that you usually see during political times or things that other people use out there, that,
Okay, those are great ideas. I'll make that happen.
yeah, so I'll just kind of run with Candy here a little too. Like if you know a project's gonna happen and you don't know when, because as everyone knows, I've dealt with contractors too, and sometimes when they come, you just gotta go because you don't know when they're coming. They just call you, just like you said, last minute. Maybe get that out a little bit of ahead of time. Some type of a generic sign like road construction soon on social media, like it's coming up. Even if it doesn't happen within a month or two, at least it's out there and nobody
Sure,
can
sure. So,
complain.
I
Like the big
totally
wall,
get it,
like the
yeah.
big wall project in Norfolk, they got signs out on Route 8 coming in from Massachusetts, the flashing signs, road construction ahead.
Yeah.
And some of those have been out for months, even before that road was actually
Yeah,
closed, so.
again, it's
It's
just-
tough. It's tough.
It's very
I
tough.
totally understand.
It's very tough. Every project's different.
Yes,
The detour plan, the traffic control plan was drawn up by an engineer based on DOT standards. So I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. Yes, there should have been additional signs. It's like, where do you start, where do you stop thinking about it?
exactly.
So, again, all I can say is we will do our damnedest to try to appease everybody's needs and wants as far as interruptions. And it's,
well, if you ever need to, you can, ask Paul to get some people together that can help, in the neighborhood to help get signs out too.
okay.
It doesn't have to just be on you.
That's right.
Yeah.
There are people that can help in different places to help with that.
Okay, that's nice.
So Jim, other than the lake, good effort, good visible results this year, so appreciate it. The only thing I was gonna ask you quick, and I know we discussed it last time, I see you put a little note in here. Any word from the state on this beach leaf disease? I mean, are we done with beech trees just like we are with ash?
Yeah,
Pretty much, huh?
Yeah,
We're
pretty
gonna
much.
lose all the beech too.
yeah. Pretty soon, we're not gonna have hemlocks, we're not gonna have beech, we're not gonna have ash.
Yeah, I know
Pine's
there's a
got
problem with the
borer,
hemlocks too, so.
Maples are suffering.
Yep.
Oak's about the only thing doing well, and that's only until we get gypsy moths. So, yeah, I mean, the forest is it's in rough shape.
But our immediate threat right now is the beech tree.
Yeah. And again, it didn't crash and burn quite as badly as I expected it to this year. One thing I'm noticing is, you'll see the blight hit, the leaves will turn brown. And then you seem to get a second burst of smaller leaflets that don't seem to get reinfected. So,
They're fighting. I noticed a
they're
couple of
fighting.
big ones up back that are fighting, but
what I'm hearing is they're going to lose. But, nature's tough. It might figure out a way eventually. Beech trees are super because, they propagate by seed, by root. They can transfer their energy from a big healthy tree down to a little, it's an amazing, it's really like this giant organism that just works to make itself healthy. So, I'm hopeful. I mean, I think we're doomed, but, you can always hope. There's people out there looking for, ways to handle it, but how do you do it on a large scale? I haven't gotten any good answers. There's several things on the market that may make some improvements, but not on a landscape-wide scale, so. But yeah, at some point, it's gonna get pretty expensive.
Have you read anything, I had read a short little thing on, that people up in Connecticut and stuff, when they have to replant a forest and stuff, they're starting to take some species from the south in the climate areas where the trees will experience it with us in the future.
Mhm.
So they're trying to build like at least a small patch of woodland with replacement trees that aren't just the trees that we currently have, but trees that will be expected to survive changing, the warming.
Yeah, that is part of the urban tree inventory, is trying to pick the trees that we want to plant, for the right size and shape for the location, but also for that reason, what's gonna happen as climate, continues to change, and which trees are gonna thrive and which ones are gonna suffer, so that's part of that. As far as, just the general town-owned forests, we just kinda let those grow, that's kind of unmanageable. The watershed properties would be maybe a little bit different because we've got some resources for that, but, yeah, that's always in the back of our mind.
I have a question about Bridge Street, the intersection, the water and the ice that forms with the new configuration. Are you waiting to correct it for that, or is
So
that?
that's a great question. So there's a spring or something under Bridge Street. And when the gas company was up there digging this summer, I went up and checked out, they found some old drainage pipes that went nowhere. So after they got out of there, we went in, we reconnected, we put a curtain drain or an under drain across the road. We fixed a crossover pipe. We tied that drain to nowhere into our drainage system and hoped that would be enough to resolve it.
And it wasn't.
20 feet uphill of our drain, pops right out. So we gotta dig in there and find out. And so, yeah, there's something else going on in
So
there.
will that be corrected before you do the
Oh,
configuration?
believe me, that's high on our priority
That
list.
has to be corrected before.
Where that water's coming out is uphill of where the Bridge Street intersection work is gonna be done, but we still wanna fix it, because it's just, yeah, it's a giant pain in the butt. We spend way too much time on that.
Yeah,
Every month.
didn't you touch base with our former employee, Mr. Lemlin, on some of that hill too? Didn't he share
Yeah.
some information?
Yeah.
Our wealth of knowledge, who,
Yeah,
I'm grateful. So, hi, Joe, I know you watch, so.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
yep. So, yeah, that's,
Okay.
we had to fix what we knew was bad, and we thought we'd try that first. And, it stayed dry right away, everything dried up. But once you get a certain amount of rain or groundwater, it just finds its way out about 20 feet upgrade of where we did our
So
work.
that'll be corrected before.
Well, yeah, we will. Again, we've tried multiple times, and
Yeah, I
we're
know.
gonna have to keep trying till we get it, because that's, we were really hoping we had it this
The
time.
dry summer didn't help you that too much this year either.
Yeah,
We're way
well,
below, so.
We were really hoping, we thought we had it this time. I really didn't think we'd have to revisit it. but-
Okay. And just, how old is the street sweeper?
6 years?
Okay.
7,
Is
maybe
this the
7?
first time that you've had?
It's
to
the first time that we've had
Okay.
to replace that
Okay.
part, yeah. And again, it's a wear item. It's, think about a fan that's got sand going to it all the time. Eventually, it's just gonna wear out. So, again, no one wants to spend 10 grand, but if it wears out because it's being used, you know, it's far better than sitting around and just getting old.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Jim.
Thanks,
Um,
Mr. Rollins.
Can I make one comment quick on the parking of 10,000 GVW vehicles? I'm not sure this is the answer, but it's something to think about. I know I had a dual-wheel landscape dump that was 10,000 pounds, so they're out there. So I'm not sure the GVW is the way to do it, but if I'm not mistaken, I think you need to go to a commercial plate above 10,000 GVW.
No, you can do combos.
Above 10,000? Up to what?
I don't know what the limit is. It's funny, I happen to have a registration for someone in with me here that's 10.7, and it's combination plates.
Okay. So,
You sure you had a 10,000?
Yeah.
Because usually they were, the lightest I'd ever heard of was 12,000
no,
for a
it
dump.
was a Chevy 3500, 10,000 GVW dually, 350, 4-speed.
You know, we looked at potentially doing just the dual rear wheels as the delineation point, right? Anything that had that. But we thought, I don't know, then there was feedback from Jeff.
Yeah,
that-
no, it's a
that the
tough,
GVW was the,
it's a tough thing to do.
I mean, I think the amount of those out there would be pretty rare that are 10,000. You still have yours?
No.
What year was that
That
truck,
was
do you
a
remember?
78,
In the 70s?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of 12.5s that were around in the last, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years maybe?
Yeah. Again, just throwing that out there when the number came
See,
up.
I'm just, the balance is between keeping someone who's got a pickup truck that's now, you know, a 3/4 ton pickup truck is now 10.7.
Oh,
right?
really? Okay.
So how do we keep that person from,
Yeah, exactly.
so,
Again, not that I
Yeah,
have
no,
the
thank
answer,
you.
just throwing that out there, because it just, you know, made me think. And I think the speed on Main Street is, everybody can get around, slowing that down, so.
And Jim, I think it's important, and I'll just highlight, I think it's important that we're just talking about on-street parking with these vehicles. So possibly, you probably parked your vehicle in the driveway, and then there's obviously an exemption if there's work being done, you know, if
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
landscaping, obviously, the vehicle can park there. But
Yeah.
I think when you look at it, we're just saying you just can't park it there. If there's a reason it needs to be parked there for a short period of time, we get it.
Yep,
But,
no doubt.
You know, we gotta improve the sightline and people's mobility around town.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, yeah, I had a 10,000, 10,000-pound GVW dually. And if I had a dually and I was asked not to park on the road, I think that would be fine. I just think it's fair. It takes up a lot of real estate.
it does.
It does.
And
The sightline.
So, that's all. Just wanted to throw the comment out while I was here.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Moving on to item number 12, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers be limited to 3 minutes and may speak once. Anyone wish to speak? Dewey?
Hi, I'm Dewey Yeager, 119 Mundry Road. I'll speak on behalf of the EDC as chairman. I just wanted to make a couple of comments, and that is that please, by all means, come and visit us. We meet twice a month, every the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock, right across the hall here. We do have a business visitation program. We've had it for at least 5 years. We have 9 commissioners. They report on businesses that they've met with, if they have met with any at that given meeting. We've devised a business visitation sheet as a guideline for visiting businesses, and they ask some of the questions on that sheet that you guys were talking about today, such as any remarkable milestones that you would like to, your business would like to have recognized, or, but we also do spotlights on businesses. We started that a few years ago. We'll select businesses that we feel we'd like to spotlight with current news or whatever. One thing, we do have a EDC Facebook page. I don't know that you're aware of that.
No, I was not aware of it.
Right.
I'm going right off the town website, so.
We do have a Winchester EDC Facebook page.
All right, well,
And-
I will have it on there by 10 o'clock.
And we do post spotlights up there,
All right, great,
as well as pertinent information that we feel businesses might like. Actually, Friends of Main Street does a fair amount of business recognition as well, too, of course. But I would love to meet at any time with any and all to discuss these things. We also do have an internal database with about 350 businesses.
Okay, I knew it was a couple hundred anyway when
Yeah.
Paul asked me, so.
Yeah,
The
so-
list is extensive.
And that covers some 12 to 15 business sectors, too. Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful, thank you.
And Dewey, while I have you, I'll just let the board know, I did send board's chairman emails from the last meeting. Dewey has confirmed and EDC has confirmed the first meeting in February, they will be bringing in their group to sit down, and maybe this could be one of the items that further gets discussed when EDC comes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Take the opportunity while you're there.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're available.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Moving on to item 13, Selectmen's comments and reports. Anyone on the board have anything?
Well, since we're on that, that's one thing we're talking about with the town website, Paul. Like, I'm glad to hear they have their own Facebook page and this and that, but I have so many Facebook pages. I follow so many businesses in town, so many this, that. I wasn't even aware that they had one. But this is where it'd be nice if we had a link. Again, I think, Linda, you talked about the different links, like, right? That's an important one, I think, to be right almost on the landing page of the town is EDC. So programs are out there and stuff's out there, but all the information is in one place. So just a thought, just a note.
Couldn't agree with you, and I think the rest of the board shares that with you. I'm meeting with Evan Dobsmart. Dewey's gonna be on the call with me too, for a website. I've looked at other website providers. Price tag's a little bit on the expensive side. So let's see what we can do with what we currently have and just see if we can make it better, but loud and clear, agree.
Other members of the board? So we've had a busy month. I'd like to thank Wendy Salter from the Gilbert School for allowing several members of this board with Representative Case and Senator Harding to speak to their civics and AP government classes last week. We had the tree lighting in the East End Park last weekend. Freezing for a Reason, hosted by the Northwest YMCA, was last weekend. That was well attended. It was very cold that night, and the Boy Scouts still slept out in their cardboard boxes. Last Saturday, we had Wreaths Across America, which I was honored to take part in. This coming Saturday, we have the Gator Parade beginning at 5 p.m., so you'll see that throughout the town. Once again, this Saturday, I'll be at Stop and Shop ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. Sadly, we do have 2 friends of the town retiring soon or in the beginning of next year. The CEO of the Northwest YMCA, Greg Briscoe, is retiring in March, I believe. And also Pam Kerrigan from the Salvation Army. She's the regional director in Winsted. She's retiring next week. So we wish them both well in their futures. And then lastly, as you see, Town Manager Harrington's in a suit today. I have my Grinch tie on. Representative Case and I met with the Scouts last weekend here in this room, and they asked us to try to class up our meetings a little bit, and they specifically requested that I wear a top hat. So this is the best I can do, but it is a top hat. Once again, as this is the last meeting of the year, wishing everyone a safe and happy holiday season and Merry Christmas, and a safe and happy New Year's. With that, can we have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Good night. Happy New Year.
Last time I saw that hat was on Live and Let Die.
Last time I saw it was Halloween. Did you wear that on Halloween? Yeah, I saw that at Trunk or Treat. He's repeating. You wore that on Halloween.
What's the recycling motto? Reduce, reuse, repurpose.
Do I have to wear a tie next time? Is that what you're doing?
Is that what you're saying? Is that what they're all saying now? We have to like.
Well, they asked that I wore a top hat.
I will be here